to Simple Kicking with your host, James Hairston.
Hey everybody, it's James Hairston from Simple Kicking. I'm here with two of my favorites of all time, Chris Saylor and Chris Rubio. Today we're at the top 12 where it was probably 130 degrees on on that turf. So with that, we are withered away and we've got our waters and Gatorades in front of us. And that's why I don't have anything planned for this podcast. These guys are people I look up to. They're my friends. I look at them as coaches. And so that's why they're joining here in Dallas, safely, socially distancing from each other. Chris Rubio, Chris Saylor, guys, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Absolute pleasure.
How hot was it out there today?
Hot. Today wasn't as bad as the past couple days, but we went earlier, so it was a little bit more refreshing. But yesterday and the day before, that first hour out there, it's, oh my gosh, hot.
Yeah, it just seems like now after 4 days, this being the fifth day, hate to say it, almost getting used to it at this point, but it's definitely sweltering out there, no doubt.
So how many top 12 camps have y'all had?
The very first top 12 camp was in 2003. Actually did not have long snappers at that one. So this would have been our 18th, right? Yeah, 18th top 12 camp. Time flies, James.
And then when that first top 12 camp that the long snappers were a part of, I think we had only 3 long snappers that we thought were even good enough to even attend. So it went from 3 to like 5 and 7, then obviously got to 12 and 20.
Yep, and now we're up to basically the best 90 specialists out there, 45 of kicker punters and 45 long snappers. So it's grown. It's grown to an awesome level.
Was this the hottest top 12 ever?
No. We had one, where were we? Tampa. And that is a whole separate level of heat because it's the same temperature, but it's more humid. And it, oh my gosh. Yeah.
I actually remember too, when we had in LA, we set a record-setting day in LA. It was like 117.
Yeah,
day.
it was 117.
It was the hottest day ever in the history of July or something like that.
My goodness.
So we've been through it all, James.
Well, you guys definitely have. And I'm very interested, and people might be interested. How did you guys even start this? What's the story?
Sure. Well, it started with me because of Saylor. And basically, I was kicking at UCLA. And when I graduated, signed with the 49ers, didn't make it, started playing arena ball, and figured out real quick arena ball wasn't really enough money to live off of. So it was off-season lessons, and that started back in about 99. And then in 2000, I ran my first camp. Began small camps, about 30 kids a camp, something like that. And by 2003, launched the first national event in Las Vegas, and that's when I brought Rubio on.
Yeah, he basically obviously, I snapped a Saylor at UCLA, and he contacted me. I was full board teaching middle school, 6th grade history. I absolutely loved it, thought it was wonderful. And he says, Rubio, I need your help. I said, what do you want, Saylor? And we still hung out. I mean, we had probably dinner maybe 2 to 3 times a month. I was in Covina, California. He was in Burbank, about 20 miles away from each other. He says, I'm running this big camp in Vegas, and I need you to come basically babysit and facilitate some long snappers. And I go, oh man, I'm busy. I don't know. I don't know about this. And he goes, come on. I don't know. And he goes, I'll pay for your trip. I said, I'm in. Let's go.
I think it was actually I'll pay for your drink. I mean, your trip and your food.
Yeah, it was definitely food. Yeah, that was when I was well over 3 spins on the cycle. So yeah, then it's kind of just panned out after that, and we just got bigger and bigger and bigger.
So I was recently talking to Reed Ferguson. He's the long snapper for the Buffalo Bills, former LSU Tiger, and he's a Rubio alum. And I asked, Reed, how do you get a long snapper to like you if you're a kicker? And Reed said, buy him food.
Saylor at UCLA, and I'm assuming you probably did this in the arena as well, he always hung out with the big guys. The bigger the guys, the more he loved them, so that kind of went hand in hand with the food thing. He was great at that, so he was always hanging out with the big guys. And the best thing, I've told Saylor this, and I've told everyone this that asked me, Saylor was not your average kicker because he never, ever complained. And if he missed a kick, which was so rare, I'll give him a little kudos on that.
Thank you.
Well, you were
snaps.
I was going to say he was dealing with pearls all day long. Is that if he did miss, he was just like, I missed. It's not, it was never the wind. It was not, like a gnat landed on my eye or some stupid crap like that. It was just, oh, I missed. My senior year, his junior year, he had a streak of, I don't even know how many it was. And when he finally did miss, we were confused. because it hadn't happened in X amount of games. And I remember we snap the ball, look up, see it go through the uprights, and it didn't. I'm like, what the hell just happened? Because it had been like 5 or 6 games where he hadn't missed a kick. Yeah, and it was just bizarre.
We get asked that question all the time about confidence, how do you deal with pressure? And I think me and Rubio are great examples of you have to enjoy what you do.
Sure.
And when you find, for example, me and Rubio we're great friends, and then also great friends with the linemen who block for us. When you're having a good time, things become easy. So, that's one thing that we always talk to kids about is that, don't put all that stress on yourself. Hand pick your snapper, hand pick your holder, and work with those guys. The more comfortable you become, better off you're going to perform.
And I think it's also how you do it yourself, because he and I were more loosey-goosey. Mm-hmm. Certain guys have to be very, very rigid and strict and regimented, almost militaristic, where he and I, we could literally just be BSing the entire way on the field, like until just about it was about to snap, and then boom, we're ready to roll.
Well, it's such a special dynamic that you guys have. I mean, and it's consistent. It's been 10 years ago, I remember my group of guys, we always wanted Sailor to we were like, hey, how about you kick with us? And so with that, when was the last time you actually kicked a ball or you actually snapped a ball?
That's actually a good question.
Sailor and I spent 4th of July together, and my next door neighbor got a drone stuck up in a tree. And the tree looked pretty high, and it was probably about 40 yards up. And I said, I can throw it that far. I get a little football, throw it. Not even close. And then I say, hey, my buddy's here. He could punt it. He's going to knock it out. And so I'm pumping him up. This guy, no problem. Give him 2 footballs. He can do it.
Yep.
He failed miserably.
He wants me to hit a drone off of pavement with his size 13s on my foot.
The old Sailor could have done it.
In my defense, I was about 3 yards short. Yeah. Right on line with my first try. But no, it's been a while, James, since I've kicked. Probably about 10 years, I'd say. 10, 12 years? Somewhere in that range.
Since you've kicked a field goal?
It's been so long, I forgot. It really has.
I literally just snapped a ball about 2.5 weeks ago.
Because that's easier.
It bites your tongue. When you've got full talent, you always have it. And the local paper in my town was doing an interview on me, and the photographer comes and goes, I want to catch a snap. And I was like, oh, good God. So I tried to stretch out a little bit. The first one was bad, but the second one, I hopped right back on that bike.
Now, was it a long snap or was it short?
It was a long snap. It was about 15 yards, and I was pretty sore right after.
James, what year were you at top 12?
2010.
So 10 years ago, exactly.
Yeah.
I got to figure maybe 2007, 2008 was the end of my career. Somewhere in that range. And I hung it up.
You told us, you were like, my groin. Okay, so recently I was listening to a really fun little Instagram clip of one of my favorite entrepreneurs, Jesse Itzler, and he said that Coach K still holds a basketball camp for guys that are 35 and older. So when is the Sailor Rubio alum top 12 camp?
That could be very, very interesting because I think some colleges football teams do that too, where they have an adult fantasy camp somewhat. Yeah. I think Notre Dame does that. I've heard they do that.
Yeah.
So, we might have to look into that, Sailor. Be one heck of a health waiver.
I'm not sure what percentage of my kickers could still get the ball.
All my snappers could do it.
So you guys had a pretty awesome camp out here. I mean, this is the best talent that's in the country.
Yeah, by far. Sailor chooses 45 kickers, punters. I choose 45 long snappers. They basically compete for 3 days, and at the very end of it, he chooses 12 of his top kids. They earn a yellow shirt, and I choose my top 12, and they earn a yellow shirt. And the group is just ridiculous. I mean, the talent level. Sailor was telling me yesterday, would you have a kid? You were kicking 70-yarders or something ridiculous.
I mean, the depth this year was off the charts. And I mean, given there was a little bit of wind out there. And with the heat, the balls do fly. But I mean, every competition we did ended back at 67 to 70 yards. I mean, we couldn't end it anywhere closer because I kept making them. Yeah. I mean, James, you did the chart there, and you saw the percentages.
Yeah. So Chris was nice enough to let me crash the party. I myself did these charts, and this is valid data. So this is not pie in the sky made up stuff. There was 164 total kicks in this last man standing competition. Okay, it lasted 30 minutes. The accuracy, 80%. But then the precision level is 6 degrees. That means these guys missed the ball left or right of dead center by 6 balls. That's 6 feet either way. Chris, that's the best talent. I mean, you can't find that anywhere else.
No, I mean, there's no doubt. The 45 guys that are out there are all Division I type athletes, and I mean, there might be a few other ones that are out there that I might not have seen.
Yeah.
But as far as the guys we had here, it was off the charts, and like I said, the depth was unreal. Normally 1 through 45. At 45, you have a guy that maybe is a little bit not quite there. But I think with every year, the talent keeps getting better and better, and this year is by far the best.
Okay, so in the last 20 years of coaching, how have you guys seen kicking improve? How have you seen your coaching improve? Like, why is the kicking getting better? Is it the coaching? Is it the athlete? What's going on?
For long snappers, I'll say the main difference you're seeing now is that kids are starting younger. And I always say, if I can get a kid to work on his form, pre-puberty, that's great. It's like building a car, and then when puberty comes, then puberty's the engine.
Sure.
And so if I can get their form down, and then they mature, go through, get all the hormones and
Right.
puberty.
Right.
That's when they just flat out dominate. Because kicking and snapping, they're very much like a golf swing.
Sure.
And what I always tell everyone, I'm teaching you basically to shoot a free throw. I don't need 3-pointers. I don't need layups. I don't need dunks. I don't need alley oops. I don't even need you to dribble. Just the same exact snapping motion, shooting motion over and over and over. And so many kids are starting, pre-8th grade. Mm-hmm. And those guys end up just being absolute freaks. Like, the new LSU long snapper, Quentin Skinner. I mean, he started with me at age 9. And, literally 9. And now he's going to be the starter for LSU next year.
Yeah, it's a combination of obviously that. I see the same thing. Obviously starting younger, kind of that the carrot at the end of the path there too, with so many scholarships being given. Kickers. Athletes become kickers at an earlier age, and long snappers. They see that, if they work hard at it, there's actually a scholarship to be given now, which 15, 20 years ago wasn't the case.
Right.
And then, of course, the coaching. We're both we both understand that with each year as we get experience, we become better coaches.
Sure.
After 20 years of doing this now, we just know that when we get young athletes and we're able to groom them from a young age, we're going to be able to take them to their full potential.
Sure.
So by all means, it's the coaching as well as the fact that they're starting younger.
And I think also with long snappers, maybe for kickers, I don't know, I don't watch those guys as much. Long snappers, they're completely different human beings now.
Yeah.
Where, when I was in college just a couple years ago, it was, you had to be big and, more muscular. It wasn't as much, you had to be an athlete, but not as much because you had to snap and block.
Yeah.
And now with the spread punt, you're looking at kids that can be, 6'1", 6 foot, under 200 pounds, and they can still get a scholarship because they're looking for pure athletes. And how athletic the kids have become, it's really overwhelming.
Well, I'm talking with Chris Saylor and Chris Rubio. You can check them both out at chrissaylorkicking.com and rubiolongsnapping.com. And what we're talking about, just the story of these two guys that have been friends for a long time, and they've had hundreds, if not thousands, of kickers, punters, and long snappers come through their program, and their names are littered in the NFL and D1 schools. I mean, I'm interested to know, though, how is, the academic part important? Chris, I know 10 years ago you said, look at your kicking as a way to get into a school you otherwise wouldn't be able to get into.
100%. Use the same line to this day. Not many of these athletes are going to become pros. So, of course, it's a goal. They're going to work hard to try to achieve that. But ultimately, this is about getting education. So it's a very fun way to go through high school, be a part of a team. If you work hard enough at it, it's a ticket to college. You can get into schools that, as a normal student through admissions are nearly impossible just because you have the ability to kick a football or snap a football. So we teach them all the time, get your grades at the highest level possible so that these doors will open for you. And I think that, I'm an example of it, UCLA, so is Rubio. I'm sure you were an example of it.
Rice,
with
yeah.
Rice.
I don't think I would have gotten into Rice without my my right leg.
Yeah.
But it's also, what you guys have at these camps is a bunch of pressure. And there's pressure in the classroom, as you guys know. And because of that pressure, and at least how I learned how to deal with it, I mean, you guys really get in these guys' heads.
You have to. I mean, it's one of those things that I think our position, long snapper, is definitely more pressure than the kicker because we have to start the play, of course. So that's one thing. And they have to be perfect. The line I always use is if a quarterback has 8 touchdown passes and 2 interceptions, he's an All-American. He'd be the best quarterback in the world that day. If a long snapper has 8 perfect snaps and 2 bad ones, he's fired. So, and I'm upside down and going backwards, and someone's trying to rip my head off. kickers just stand there and they kind of just wait for the ball to land, and then they kick it.
Yeah, I'm sure you saw it there, James. But I mean, I bring Obi along exactly for that. I mean, Obi's known as a pressure maker. Making noises, getting in people's ears, dancing around guys, creates kind of an atmosphere.
Yeah.
And then as well, they're thinking about something else, not kicking.
Sure.
And that's exactly what you want them to be able to not focus on. So we're kind of getting ready for, a big game situation. And when you put pressure on kids, they don't do quite as well at times, and we got to get better over that hump.
Yeah, and being able to actually chart some of the kicks yesterday, Obi has a 10% effect on the field goal accuracy because in warm-ups, they were 91 out of 100. Okay, it was a shorter warm-up than the competition. I mean, these guys were really good, so it was a longer competition. Yeah. Then when Obi starts, getting in their head, it went down to 80%. So, I guess my question is here, you guys have experienced the pressure. You guys are around pressure, with the NFL guys who are, the Kai Forbaths, Nick Folk. I mean, the list goes on. But how do you guys transfer that coaching, right? Like some parents who might be listening or, they don't have Chris Saylor or Chris Rubio every single day. So, how can a kid get better, especially with dealing with pressure when they're away from you guys, not at these camps?
I think they have to go back to the whole muscle memory thing of if you do the same exact thing a billion times in a row, and you do it correctly, you just let your body take over.
Yeah.
I mean, so when you're on the field, as you know, you just everything becomes static. You don't hear anything, you don't see anything, you just see what you're focused on, and then that's it. If you've done the same exact thing, because I've had this conversation with parents before, and I said, if I put your kid in a dark room right now, could he tie his shoes? Like, yeah. I said, well, it's the same thing. He's done that a billion times, and he's confident that he can do it. It's just the same exact thing over and over and over and over.
Yeah, we offer. I mean, obviously we can't be everywhere, so we offer virtual lessons. We have staffs, scattered throughout the country that been with us now for over a decade. So we have resources for them to also reach out and continue to work, even though we're not with them all the time.
That's good. So you guys do. Ruby, are you offering lessons as well virtually?
Live virtual lessons, and we're going to be doing online ranking as well since everyone's still in somewhat of a lockdown. Yeah, but we're definitely going to offer that as well. And I think going back to that confidence thing, every single kid is different. Sure. And I really picked up on that when I was teaching, that if 2 + 2 = 4, I got that. Yeah. But not everyone's going to learn it the same way. You may be more hands-on. I may be more visual. Like he and I argue, this is one of the arguments we have all the time, is that I'm extremely visual and he's not visual at all. He's like, just tell me, I got it. And I'm like, you got to show me or I got nothing. Right. And so once Saylor and I can figure out what type of kid the kid is personality-wise, I think that's what way we can get, them to build their confidence a little bit more, because them a little bit more. You know how to teach them. Yeah, because y'all aren't just out here slapping a ranking on these kids. No. Right? So people who are on the outside who don't know what you guys do, I'm an alum, but I also was out here to see it firsthand. I mean, what are you doing with these kids? Like, I'm a parent. I've never been to Chris Saylor kicking camp before, or Rubio long snap. Like, what are you doing with these guys when they're actually out here? You're coming to learn. I mean, that's the first thing we teach. You're coming to get better. You're not coming for a ranking. We say the ranking is kind of an added bonus to the camp, but ultimately, we're here to get them better. So we're teaching them, the basics. We're teaching them about routine. We're teaching them how to train. Yep. You name it. All those things are taught to these kids at these camps. Yeah, I mean, in the top 12 camp, the best thing about the top 12 camp is that there are some parents in attendance, but the majority of the kids come by themselves, and they're on the field by themselves, and so I get to start to really see their personalities. And it's so great because the first day, everyone's getting off flights and all that stuff, and everyone's super nervous. Yeah. The bus rides over, the van rides over, there's not one word spoken. Everyone just like that. And then by day 2, they kind of know each other. And then by day 3, you're like, geez, you guys got to shut up. I'm tired of hearing you. Right. But that's what you want. And then by day 3, when they're doing the competition, they're more relaxed. They know each other a lot better. They're building lifelong friendships. Yeah, so and you see it too, like with these kids that come to this camp, and like as Bruce, they get to know one another, and they build this confidence. Then they go to another camp in the future, and they're wearing that top 12 shirt. And they're just, they're going with confidence. And you can just see, they look at someone else like, I'm taking you out. Yeah. And their friends there that's wearing a top 12 shirt too, kind of get together, and all of a sudden it's like, it's almost this wall you can't penetrate anymore because they're so confident. So, all the stuff we do in the process to get these kids ready for college. So, build confidence and get in there.
Now, there is a competition that's outside of kicking. Does it go into the rankings, and what is that competition that's annual?
Oh, hold on. Let me stick my chest out a little bit. I think
as he's wearing a gingerbread man shirt that says "Oh snap."
I think what you're saying is you're talking about the annual belly flop competition where the long snappers flat out dominated this year. This is the first year, and several on social media have commented that Saylor did not cheat. Last year, he brought in some 28-year-old guy. Was that last year with the beard?
I'll just comment. This is the first year that you did cheat because you
did not cheat.
They actually did not win.
He brought in
a controversial ending.
Some JUCO kid that I've never seen before at a camp. I'm like, I don't even know who this kid is. He had a full beard. He looked older than I was. I think he was driving like a Greyhound van and just pulled up and started doing it. Saylor said he's a kicker.
Yeah.
And so that was
have a game plan.
Line of cheating. Long line of cheating.
We were back-to-back champs before yesterday, and yesterday was a draw.
It was not a draw. It was clearly a victory.
Nope. You can't win with a dive. It's called the belly flop contest.
There's a lot of salt over there.
You know, it's fun. You guys really do make it fun, right? It is summer camp.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's so much of just who Saylor and I are. We're not going to go out there and run a camp where we're bored.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I'm not doing that. I mean, you know, for a normal camp, if we're out there for 8 hours of the day, and I got to be speaking, I want to keep people entertained.
Sure.
I want to keep people entertained. I want the kids to be relaxed. I want the parents to be relaxed. And, you know, a lot of times at the normal camps, we have the parents on the field with us simply because they tend to pay attention a little bit more since they usually foot the bill. Yeah. And so I want to explain to them, okay, when I'm not around, here's how you can do all these things. Here's what I'm teaching your kid so you can teach him as well.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's one of the biggest compliments we get is it's not just about the kids. It's about the families.
Yeah.
It's about the experience. You know, it's not just about kicking. It's about learning life lessons as well, building friendships. You know, a good example is, you know, Obi and Aaron Perez are both here, kind of my right and left-hand men now, and you know, they're best friends. You know, they're Obi was recently in Aaron Perez's wedding, and you know, coming up here, Obi's getting married, and the opposite will take place. So it's about building, you know, relationships and long-term friendships as well. Yeah,
because kicking, punting, and long snapping, they're fun, but you're not going to be doing it forever.
Right.
I mean, at some point you are going to hang up the cleats, and you're going to have to become a quote-unquote real human being with a real job, you know, and kind of.
You mean like James over here running the podcast
I'm
right now?
My hand over here.
Exactly. I mean, same with us.
So we have a question from a parent in Houston, from Carlton. He says, "What's the experience like when you guys get a call from, you know, a college coach, and he's looking for his guy, right? I need you to find me a guy, and I want it to be my guy, right? And you get that call from a coach, or you get a call from an agent, you get a call from NFL, whoever. How do you process that? You guys watch thousands of snaps, thousands of kicks in any given weekend, and you go back. What's that process really like?"
You know, we've been doing it for so long. It happens every day now. But I think that, you know, thinking back when I first started doing this, it was kind of surreal. You know, all of a sudden you have someone like Nick Saban call you on the telephone. It's like, whoa, you know, this is Nick Saban and I'm just Chris Saylor. But after doing it for so many years, you know, we talk to coaches like that daily. You know, college coaches, NFL coaches, and really we're just doing our job.
Sure.
And like I said, we're not used car salesmen. All we're doing is giving them the truth. So we have the experience to know how to evaluate these kids. We're always up front with them, and we're honest with them as far as what that evaluation is.
Sure.
You know, the biggest thing that we always teach is, you know, under promise and over deliver.
Sure.
So, you know, don't talk these kids up when they really can't get it done. So, you know, at this point, it's a relationship where I think they're just about as nervous to call us as we are to talk to them at this point because, you know, we've been doing it for so long, and they know what we're doing. You know, we have a track record. And you know, it's about telling the truth.
Yeah.
So it's about, you know, giving them the information that we know, nothing else.
Yeah, and like Saylor said, we've been doing it so long, and we both have like our own criteria of how we're going to rank a kid. Like my number one is mentality. I got to see how the kid handles pressure. That's number one, because you could be the greatest long snapper in the world, but if I stand next to you and all of a sudden you piss the bed, we've got an issue here.
We've got an issue.
Yeah, so mentality, speed, accuracy, consistency, size, spiral, athleticism. That's how I would do it. And the kids are ranked in order. So usually when a coach calls, they'll say, okay, I have your list in front of me.
Yep.
I want you to tell me what the difference is between this person and this person.
Sure.
And, you know, and then they'll usually say, okay, Rubio, now how's his personality?
Yeah.
Because they've got to be sitting in a room with them for, you know, 360 days of the year, and they want to see, like, is it someone that needs mommy and daddy around all the time? Is he more outgoing? Is he shy? Is he, you know, more of an introvert, extrovert, things like that?
And that's part of the thing that makes the top 12 camp so great, guys, is you guys get to see that mentality like you just talked about,
exactly.
right?
1,000%.
Because the problem is, if you just put these kickers in a vacuum, okay, great. You got guys that are better than others, but that's not the full athlete.
Yep.
And so that's this next question from another parent here in Dallas. It's like, why aren't you better off the radar and just not going to kicking camps at all? Like, why should I go to a Chris Saylor camp? Why? I mean, can I just be okay without, getting the exposure?
You could, but it'd be one of those things of, are you well taught? Do you know all the ins and outs? Number one. Number two, if you're not competing against someone, how do you know how well you're gonna do in a competition?
Right.
And that's the big thing, is that you're going to compete and learn and get under the pressure. I mean, people are watching you now. So when a college coach, because your little high school coach may say, yeah, this is the best kicker I've ever seen, to a college coach, and he's seen 5 kickers.
Yeah.
Where Saylor sees, 5 per minute, for the entire school, whole calendar year.
Yeah, it's just nice in this business to have someone in your corner. I mean, can you make it without going to camp? Sure. I mean, if you're that good and you're the right place, right time, no problem. But most high school coaches aren't going to be making those phone calls for you, and you don't get a lot of opportunity in a game. That's the other problem is, is your snapper good enough? Is your holder good enough? Does your team work on special teams?
Right.
Is your field trash?
Is your field bad? Yeah. If you're getting 3 attempts a year, how can you show what you can do?
Sure.
So, for the most part, a college coach goes, well, I don't know what I'm looking at either. I'm not a kicking coach. They don't have a coach on staff.
Right.
So they have a special teams coach. He understands coverages and protections,
sure,
but not kicking. So that's why they rely upon us to do that for them. They don't have enough staff, coaches on staff to be able to hire a kicking or snapping coach. So for us, it's about, we give them an opportunity to be seen. So when a coach calls us, we can talk about those players. So is it possible? Yes, but I would definitely recommend being with us.
Yeah, is it likely? No, not really.
And I don't know if I would want to go off the grid knowing how field goal kicking numbers have been over the last couple of years. And that's what I wanted to ask you, Chris. What's going on? I mean, in college football last year, only 35% of teams were above 80% in field goal percentage. Also, the NFL had a historically bad year kicking.
Yeah,
is there anything that you see?
I think in the NFL, one part of it, if you look at the upper tier, the top guys, they're performing. It's kind of that second layer of guys that are getting cut. There's a short leash, and with there's a short leash, I think it builds pressure, and so guys are kind of coming in and out very quickly.
Sure. Also,
I think financially, teams sometimes will take someone that's younger, they can pay less money to, that's less experienced, as opposed to paying a veteran, $4 or $5 million. They're taking that as, hey, here's we can cut some costs with the salary cap, so the young guys aren't performing as well. So I think that's a part of it. College, I think it's just one of those things where it's going to go up and down. We're in a lull right now. I think that you'll see that turnaround, in my opinion.
But it looks like long snapping it seems like it's kind of gone the up and up. It's improving.
Well, of course it has. you see no surprise here. When you're dominant, you're dominant. Our numbers are great. It's the kickers. They have an easier job.
Punting numbers are also always going up, as our kickoff numbers always going up. Field goal percentages are going to fluctuate, but the very best are getting it done.
And with these offenses being so good, it's like we're not punting as much because these guys are scoring so much, and that's kind of an interesting dynamic that I saw where the last couple of years punting is dropping off by 3 to 5% in terms of actual attempts at punting, which is kind of crazy. Another quick question that I have to ask you guys is there any like uncomfortable conversations where college coaches have called you, maybe like Nick Saban and his voice came across as like Darth Vader, or it came in on like a restricted phone? It's like, I mean, like things like, I think when Nick Saban may call my phone, it's like if the Pope or President Trump called me, it's like some blocked number. Have you guys ever gotten anything like that from like a head coach?
Well,
like, what is this?
I won't mention who the coach was, but this was many, many moons ago. He was is still a very, very, very high profile coach. And we were out running their camp, and he wanted to know about a certain long snapper, and I said, "Okay, here's the best one." And he goes, "Will he take a preferred walk?" And I go, "Nope." He says, "Well, why not?" And I said, "Well, he's got 4 offers." And he loses his mind. Sailor was right there, so he could back this story. He's like, I have to offer a long snapper a scholarship. This is way back in the day when it wasn't as common. And I go, if you want this one, you're going to have to offer him. Because I'd tell him myself not to go here. But why would he? He's got 4 schools that have already, said they'll pay for his education. And he's like stomping around. I have to pay for a long snapper. I have to give a long snapper a scholarship, and was losing his mind. And I'm like, yeah, you do, man. And he ended up giving him a scholarship.
Oh my goodness. Well, this is really cool that you guys joined. You guys both are pioneers, honestly.
Thank you.
I mean, you really are. I mean,
Thank you, James.
You guys have both lost some hair, so have I. There's some experience that you guys have both had, but the track record speaks for itself. I mean, the 3 NFL guys right now that I was at Sailor camps with, Nick Folk, Justin Tucker, Dustin Hopkins, I think Tressway was at a camp.
Yep.
I mean,
Brian Anger,
Reed Ferguson, Blake Ferguson on the long snapping side. The list really goes on, and I just want to say thank you to both of you, because you guys are real, you guys are truthful, you guys are the real deal, and it's been so much fun to, even stay in touch with you guys. I mean, I'm a guy that was done with Sailor, and you guys were still like not done with me, and Rubio, and I'm a Sailor guy, but Rubio still treats me the same, even though I'm on the dark side. But this last question here before we close off is if there's anything that I didn't ask or something that you guys wanted to talk about or say, this is kind of the opportunity to do so. And if there's nothing, that's totally fine too.
I think you covered it all. I mean, just make sure everyone follows us both on social media. We're pretty active on all avenues of it. Yeah,
one more camp coming up tomorrow. We start our underclassmen invitational. And then we're, hopeful a season comes around. I think that's one of the questions people have is, what's coming up next? We don't really know, but we're gonna keep on training guys, getting them ready.
So if I'm a parent listening, if I want to go to find Rubio, I go to rubiolongsnapping.com.
Yep, rubiolongsnapping.com.
And then what's your social media handles? What's your Twitter?
You could just search Rubio Long Snapping. They'll find it. It's all over the place.
Yeah, same. Chris Sailor Kicking or Chris Sailor. You'll find it.
Okay, awesome. Well, this was so much fun, guys. Thank you so much. If you guys want to reach out to Chris Rubio or Chris Sailor, talk to them both. They're wide open, and we'll talk to you guys next time. Thanks, everybody.
If you enjoyed the content, join the community by subscribing to the Simple Kicking channel below, or drop a like and maybe a comment. It would be really cool to hear from you. Also, you'll find Simple Kicking on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and yes, even TikTok.